The record. Yes. Let us start. The screen is visible. স্ক্রিনটা ভিজিবল হচ্ছে?
Yes, sir.
হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে। So, see, we have talked we at our previous class we stopped the discussion on your various dimensions of equality, that is your social dimensions. Now from that class we have to talk about the characteristics of social dimensions of equality. So we have to discuss this one. So the first characteristics of social dimensions of equality, it is your absence of special privileges. So the principle of social equality, it considers every individual equal and essential part of society and prohibits all type of discrimination. Therefore, if any provision is made of special privileges for a particular sections of the society, this is the violation of social dimensions of equality. So no discrimination is made with anybody on the basis of his caste, religion, color, or creed. So that is the first characteristics of your social dimensions of equality, that is absence of special privileges. And when we are talking about equality, then this absence of special privileges, it should be there. So the principle of social equality, it always considers that all the individuals, they are equal and they are also the essential parts of the society, and therefore it prohibits the every type of discriminations. So if any provision it is being made for or special privileges of special privileges for a particular sections of the society, that will be considered a violations of the social dimensions of equality. So no discrimination should be made on the basis of your religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. The second characteristics of your social dimensions of equality is your prohibition of discriminations. So the main characteristics of social equality is not to make any discriminations on the basis of religion, race, caste, color, different things. So that is the main characteristics of your social equality, that there should not be any discriminations. In many of the underdeveloped states, even today, those discriminations are made which is against the principles of social equality. In certain societies which are underdeveloped, even today also, they are making certain discriminations which is against the principles of social equality. That is the second principles of your second characteristics of your social dimensions of equality, prohibition of discrimination. The next one is your free access to public resources. Okay, so public places like bus stands, railway stations, hotels, roads, it should be the property of all the citizens, and everybody, they have the free access to these facilities, whatever it may be. So in case people belonging to a particular class or race, they are not allowed to access to those particular places, then it is a negation of the principle of social equality. So whenever any public places are there that are being accessible to everyone, and if any negation has been made with regard to the access of those public places, then definitely it will be considered against the principle of social equality. No discriminations on the basis of gender. So that is also one of the characteristics of your social equality, that there should not be any discrimination that can be made on the basis of gender. So discriminations on the basis of gender, it should be prohibited. Men and women, they should be provided equal status in every sphere of life. It may be the workplace or home or any other place also. So discrimination should not be made on the basis of gender equality. That is the another characteristics of your social dimensions of equality. Then equality of opportunity in public employment. So every citizen, they should be given equal opportunities in public employment. No discrimination should be made on the basis of different things. So that also it should be given, and if it is being not given, then it will be considered against the principles of social equality. So social equality, it demands that in the matter of opportunity, in the matter of public employment, everyone should have the equal opportunity. Provisions of equal rights. The principle of social equality demands that that there should be equal rights for all and no discrimination should be made on any grounds. For centuries, discriminations was made with untouchables in India and with blacks in South Africa, and it was against the social equality. So after independence, all such provisions have been ended through constitutional provisions, and all the citizens of India, they have been provided the right to equality. Okay. So the policy, whatever is being adopted by apartheid, that was your prevailing in South Africa, it has also been ended in South Africa after 1990s. Now, provisions of protective discriminations, this is also one of the demands or one of the characteristics of your social dimensions of equality. So though discriminations are against the principles of social equality that we have already learned, that discrimination should not be given there, and discrimination, it is against the principles of your social equality. But even if discriminations are against the principles of social equality, yet in certain circumstances, discriminations, it becomes essential, as in case of India. Special provisions have been made for the protection of the interest of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes or other backward classes. So the purpose of this special provision is to stop inhuman treatment that are being done with these people and to provide them equal opportunities for development. That is the reasons we have adopted the scheme of protective and discriminatory provisions. So such discriminations, they are known as your protective discriminations, but this should be kept in mind that the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and backward classes which are given special rights will not come under the headings of special rights. So that headings of special rights, it should not be. Indian Constitution, it also makes provisions to give special rights to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and the backward classes of the society. The last one is your economic dimensions. Okay, so as we have already talked about the various dimensions of equality, legal dimensions, social, political dimensions, social dimensions. So the last dimension is your economic dimensions. In case of economic dimensions, we can say that economic equality is considered as the basis of all the equalities, because where there are poor and rich, social, political and legal equalities is not possible. Okay, so that is the reason at last we are discussing this economic equality, because economic equality, it can be considered as the basis of all the equalities, because if we have rich and poor people in the society, then there is no such provisions for social, political and legal equality. That is not possible. That is the reason Rousseau, he has written in his famous book Social Contract, the policy of the government should be such which allows neither rich man nor beggars to increase. So that should be the policy of the government. Neither the rich man, it should increase, or the beggars, they should increase. So a balanced approach should be there, so that the rich, they cannot become more and more rich, and the poor, they can also not become more poor. So according to Rousseau, poor and rich, they are simultaneously dangerous for equality and the whole society. If we talk about the meaning of economic equality, we can find out that economic equality, it doesn't mean equal distributions of money. Okay? When we are talking about economic equality, it doesn't mean that there should be equal distributions of money. Economic equality, it means every person should have equal chances to earn his livelihood. So opportunity should be there, given. So when we are talking about economic equality, it doesn't mean that everyone they should have the proper equal distribution of money, but rather it means that every people who are living in the society, they have equal chances to earn his livelihood. So man's fundamental needs, it should be fulfilled, and distribution of money should be fair. Okay. So what are the fundamental needs of the people are there, that should be fulfilled, and the distribution of money, it should be done in a fair manner. according to Professor Lasky also, there must be sufficiency for all before there can be superfluity for a few. So at first we have the sufficiency for everyone, then we can talk about the excess. Again, Lasky, he said that I have no right to eat cake if my neighbor, because of my this right to eat cake, is compelled to go through without bread. Okay. So this much he says, that when we are living in a society, if my neighbors, he cannot have bread, at that point of time I should not go and take cake. Okay. So if we are talking about the effect of economic inequality, it affects the total political and economic framework of the society. So one way, it will definitely have an effect on your political framework of the society, and as well as it will have a negative impact on the economic framework of the society. So political powers, it gets concentrated in the hands of the rich people, and they use their power, that political power, for their own ends. So again, the scholars, they have accepted that a close relationship between political stability and economic equality. The scholars, they think that the countries where economic inequalities that are prevailing, that are more prone to revolutions. So if we go through the history also, you can find the provisions that whenever in any country there are that much of economic inequality is there, in all those countries they got a revolutions. So economic inequalities prevailing in any society, that are having much and more chances to go for revolutions. So if we want to establish political stability, economic equality is necessary. So that is the reason at first we have said that if economic equality is not being guaranteed, then there is no such scope for political, social, or legal equality. So economic equality, it is the basis of all other equality. If you have economic inequality in your society, that means it will have more and more chances that they can go for revolution. So if we really want to establish a society where political stability, social stability, as well as legal stability should be there, then we must need to ensure that in that society, economic stability at first it should be ensured. So without going for economic stability, others equality, they have not that much of importance. Now let us talk about the characteristics of economic equalities. The first characteristics of economic equalities is your equal opportunities to earn livelihood. So every citizens of the state, they should have equal and sufficient opportunities to earn their livelihood. So the citizens who are staying in a particular society, they should have the opportunity that they can earn their livelihood. The state in which there is a widespread of unemployment, in such a states we cannot even think for economic equality. So when you have much more spreading of unemployment in those type of societies, we cannot think about the concept of economic equality. And unemployed persons, he becomes the victim of inferiority complex, and his thinking it becomes negative also. So that is the first characteristics, that equal opportunities should be given to everyone to earn their livelihood, because unemployment definitely it will create one negative impact on the society, and therefore the opportunity for livelihood should be given to everyone. The next characteristics for economic equality is that equal wages for same job. So without making any discriminations, whether he may be the man or the woman, they should be given equal wages for same type of job. Besides this, no discrimination should be made among the people on the basis of their caste, religion, race, or gender. So discriminations on the basis of these things should not be made in case of earning money. It will, if those discriminations are being made, then definitely it will create certain impact on the society, and the feeling of self-respect among the people, it will also be degraded. So that is the second characteristics of your economic equality. The next one is here, the next characteristic is the fulfillment of basic needs. So the basic needs like food, clothes, and the shelters, that are the basic needs of every individual. And for the establishment of economic equality, fulfillment of these basic necessities are necessary. So in a society where some people may have to sleep on empty stomach and under the open sky without any roof on their head, we cannot think of economic equality in such a society. Therefore, it is the responsibility of all the states to fulfill these basic needs of the individual. So whatever the basic needs, food, clothes, and the shelters, that have to be provided. So when people, they are living in a empty stomach, they have to sleep on empty stomach as also in the under the open sky without having any roof on their head, then in those situations we cannot think about the economic equality in those societies. The next one is to reduce the economic inequalities. Now, in economic inequalities in those societies, it should be reduced. According to different scholars, specifically the Lasky, he said that where there are poor and rich, educated and uneducated, we always have masters and servants. So whenever in any society you will have the poor and the rich people as well as the educated and the uneducated people, in those societies the concept of master and servants will always exist. So the society in which there is a wide gap in between the rich and the poor, we cannot think of economic equality in such a society. Okay. The provisions of economic security. Now, economic security, it should be provided in case of unemployment, sickness, old age, or different time. That is the reasons in most of the developed societies, they have these economic security schemes. So their jobs are not being guaranteed. Their expenses, life expenses are too high. That is the reason some social security schemes are being implemented on those developed societies wherever there is any opportunity in case of like unemployment or sickness or old age. So to meet this purpose, provision, it should be made for like free medical aid, old age pensions and old age home, etc. for the poor as well as for the old people, whatever we have also adopted as an welfare states, because in case of India also we have the provisions of right to education, right to food, right to employment, right to health. Again, if you go to other developed nations also, they have all those social security provisions. So you have the state, they have a responsibility that they should provide economic securities in case of like unemployment or sickness or old age. The next characteristics of your economic equality is your just distribution of wealth. So the unequal and the unjust distribution of wealth in the society, it gives birth to the classes. So even if you go to the Indian Constitution also, it says about that concentration of wealth should not be there, and distribution of wealth should be made. Okay, in directive principles of state policy, we have the provisions. There should not be concentration of wealth, and we have to achieve for distribution of wealth. But it is in the directive principles of state policy, but still it is there in the constitutional provisions. So therefore, there should be such a just distribution of wealth in the society so that rich, they do not exploit the poor people. This unequal distribution of wealth, it will create a wide economic inequalities in and the society gets divided into hostile classes, and according to Marxist theories, it will create war-like situations. Okay, among those two hostile classes, which disturbs that social harmony. So that is the reasons distribution of wealth, even not only in case of Marxist society, even in socialistic societies also, they are talking about the distribution of wealth, because if distributions of wealth are not being made in a proper manner, then definitely it will create a war-like situations in the society, and thereby it will try to disturb the social harmony as well. So that is also one of the characteristics of your economic equality. Next one is your just ownership of the means of productions. So the means of production, it should not be under the monopoly of a certain few persons. Rather, there should be just ownership of this, so that the wealth does not get concentrated in the hands of few people. Whatever we have said in our constitution also, that concentration of wealth, it should not be there. That is the reasons the provision has been given that means of production, it should not be under the monopoly of a certain persons, certain few persons. Rather, our policy or the policy of the state, it should be to be just ownership of those resources, so that the wealth, it should not be concentrated in the hands of the few people. Generally, it is seen that the people having control over the means of the productions, they exploit the laborers and do not give them the reasonable wages or the other facilities. Definitely, whenever any monopoly will be there in the society, in those societies, if the controls of the production is within the hands of the few people, then they will try to exploit the laborers, and in that manner, they can negate the provisions of giving reasonable wages to the people as well as to other facilities. The next characteristics of your economic equality is that fixed hours to work. So there should be fixed hours to work, so that the laborers, they are not made to be overworked, and they also get the time to go for rest as well as for leisure. So to meet the purpose, the provisions like fixed working hours, holidays, extra wages for extra work, bonus, these should be made by law, as it will save the laborers of their exploitations by the factory owners. So that also we know that even international labor organizations, they have also adopted those schemes that 8 hours of work should be theirs, the holidays should be provided. Even the laws that are being made in India as well as in other states, specifically the labor laws, they have also the provisions of the well-being of the working class. That is the reasons we have enacted a number of welfare legislations in terms of labor laws. So that is also will come within the concept of your economic equality, which talks about the fixed hours of work. Absence of human exploitation, that is the next characteristics of your economic equality. So there should be absence of human exploitations in the society. In fact, while living in the society, individual, they has to face many difficulties. Many of the people, they do not get sufficient food to eat, they fail to arrange medicine in case of sickness, and they fail to buy clothes and the books for their children. So such people, they got exploited by the rich, and they are being forced to indulge in immoral activities against their wishes. So that is the reasons absence of human exploitations also should be ensured, so that human, they should not be exploited, because in such a society, in today's society, the peoples, they have to live with certain difficulties, where they are not able to get sufficient food to eat, they cannot able to arrange medicines for their own health as well as for the education of their children, they cannot able to buy books. So those peoples, if they will be got exploited by the rich peoples, and they are being, thereafter they will be forced to indulge in immoral activities. So in that way, social harmony will be disturbed. So absence of human exploitations needs to be guaranteed. So to ensure economic justice, human exploitation should be eradicated. So that is the main focus of your economic equality. We have to eradicate the exploitations of human beings. In brief, we can say that special provisions are needed to be made to establish economic equality. So that is the reasons certain schemes can be, policies can be implemented by the government, so that some economic security can be given to the people who are in the bottom of the society. So that is what we can say regarding the provisions of economic equality, that special provisions which are needed, that needs to be made in order to establish economic equality in the society. Okay. So that is all about our today's lectures. And in later on, I have given one visual graphics through by which you can try to understand that how this concept of inequality, equality and justice that are being defined. So through this diagram, not diagram, through these pictures, you can find out that in case of inequality, that is unequal access to opportunities. And when we are talking about equity, that means that customs tools that identify the address of inequality. And when we are talking about equality, that means evenly distributed tools and assistance. And in case of justice, which is at last, that is you're fixing the system to offer equal access to both the tools as well as the opportunities. So this is all about the concept of equality, what we need to talk in our lectures throughout the day. And here, what we have found that our four concepts of equality: economic equality we have learned, social equality also we have learned, political equality also is there, and your legal equality also is there. So certain characteristics of the equality that are also being mentioned, and we have also given the concept of your positive aspect of equality as well as negative aspect of equality. But in case of negative aspects of equality and in positive aspects of equality, different people have different senses. And in the Constitution of India, when we are talking about protection of equality before law and equal protection of law, that means both this negative as well as the positive concept we have adopted. And the constitution, in case of our constitution, we also have given the provisions for legal equality. That means in terms of justice, in terms of getting justice, opportunities should be given to everyone, so that everyone should have equal access to the justice. And those for the poor people, for them also we have the provisions of Article 39A of the Constitution of India. That is why, means through by this provisions we have guaranteed the legal equality for the poor people as well. Even in case of public interest litigations also, the legal equality has been guaranteed to the poor and as well as for the disadvantaged sections of the society. When we are talking about political equality it is being ensured from the first day of independence of India, because even in almost all the modern states, they have not guaranteed, they have not given the voting rights to the women. Even in case of your USA also, when they got their independence, at that point of time, they have not given voting rights to the women. But in case of India, they are having much more mature democracy, because from the first day of our independence, we have given the equal voting rights to men as well as to the women. But in most of the other Western countries, you will not find that they have not given voting rights to the women at first occasions. Later on, they have given. So political equality has also been ensured in the Constitution. We have given the equal voting rights to everyone. Even we have given that every persons, they can go for contesting elections also, they can fight elections. So in that way, political equality has also been ensured in the Constitution of India. If we are talking about the social equality has also been guaranteed through by the provisions of your directive principles of state policy, because in case of directive principles of state policy, it has talked about that concentration of wealth should not be there, distributions of wealth should be made. So that is the reasons different type of schemes has also been implemented, so that this economic equality needs to be guaranteed. And in case of economic equality, when we are talking about that, different beneficial labor laws are being implemented, enacted, and as well as they are being effected also. So we have taken care of the provisions of your worker sections, worker class of the society. Courts, they have also interpreted the beneficial provisions of your labor laws in order to give much more benefit to the working class. In that way, they have ensured the economic equality of the society. Government, they have implemented new schemes for the poor people, for the disadvantaged peoples, in terms of your Right to Food Act, Right to Employment, National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, NREGA. Then we have the provisions of your right to education, also free and compulsory education from 6 to 14 years of the children, that has also been guaranteed. So through these schemes, we are trying to give the economic equalities to the people of India also. So if we are looking all these four perspectives of equality, all are being covered by these constitutions. You cannot say that only one provision has been covered. Legal equality has been covered. Political equality has also been covered. If we talk about social equality, that is also there in the constitutional provisions, and if we talk about the economic equality, that is also has been given in the Constitution of India. So in that way, all the four types of equality that are being given maximum opportunities to develop, so that we can have a society whereby all the sections of the people, it may be the rich, it may be the poor, it may be the black, it may be the white, or it may be the educated or uneducated, everyone should be given a certain access to all the opportunities, so that one balanced and harmonized society we can have, through by which we can one way try to achieve the goal of our like globalizations, liberalizations, and privatizations. And on the other hand, we can give assurance to the working class, to the disadvantaged class, is some guarantee, so that they should also can be there in the society, so that when opportunities will be given to them, they can also grow like all other human beings. So in that way, we can give the concept of equality. Whatever I found that, according to my understandings, what taking in the view of your constitutional provisions, that we have to discuss the four types of equality and what are the characteristics of equality, how these are being provided, where in sometimes equalities has been given, and on the other hand, protective discrimination has also been provided, special provisions have been made, privileges have been granted. So that these are also within these characteristics of the equality concepts. So in that way, one balanced approach has been given in our society through by the Constitution of India. So that is what I have to talk about the concept of equality, keeping in view the legal provisions, the constitutional provisions, as well as the other social provisions. Okay, so this is what we have our discussions for today's lectures. Now, if you have any questions regarding this concept of equality, you can ask me. If you have any query also, that can be solved out. So now it is the time for having a discussion. So is there any query from your side? I think there may not be any query. Even if it is there, then okay. If it is not at that moment, then you can come out with next time also. You can later on also you can ask me. So for today's lectures, that is enough. Say. What happened to Atri Sarkar?
স্যার আমি যেটা বলছিলাম যে বিকাশিতা ম্যাম তো লাস্ট ক্লাসে কয়েকটা কোয়েশ্চেন দিয়েছিলেন, 30খানা মতো কোয়েশ্চেন দিয়েছিলেন।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
এবার আমাদের তো 17 তারিখে পরীক্ষা, তার মানে তো আর কোনো ক্লাস পাবো না 202 এর।
ঠিক আছে, আমি টিউসডের মধ্যে আমিও কয়েকটা কোয়েশ্চেন তাহলে আমার যেই মডিউলগুলো আমি পড়িয়েছি সেই মডিউল থেকে আমিও দিয়ে দেবো। ঠিক আছে,
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, আজকে রেকর্ডিংটা একটু পাঠিয়ে দেবেন যদি পারেন।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, রেকর্ডিংটা পাঠিয়ে দেবো স্যার। ঠিক আছে, ওকে। তাহলে আর যদি কিছু না থাকে তাহলে আমরা এখানে ক্লাসটা আস্তে আস্তে কনক্লুড করতে পারি।
ওকে
স্যার, আর ওই ভিডিও প্রেজেন্টেশন আর ওইগুলো মানে কি করতে হবে একটু ডিটেইলে বলে দিলে ভালো হয়।
ওটা আমি একটু ইনকোয়ারি করে জানাচ্ছি।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, হ্যাঁ স্যার, ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে।
Okay, then let us conclude the session for today's, and we will meet again on our next class. Thank you very much for attending the classes. Thank you.
ওকে।